On day 89, in a ghost town, a family quietly walks barefoot through an empty store amidst many tattered missing persons flyers. The mother of the family, Evelyn Abbott, played by Emily Blunt, carefully searches through a cluster of uncollected prescription bottles for medication for her sick eldest son, Marcus, played by Noah Jupe. She then gives him the medication and uses sign language to reassure her deaf daughter, Regan, played by Millicent Simmons, that her brother is all right. Regan then checks on her younger brother, Beau, played by Cade Woodward, who is drawing a picture of a rocket on the floor. Beau signs to Regan, indicating that they can use a rocket to escape. He climbs up the mostly empty shelves and reaches for a space shuttle toy, which falls but is caught by Regan. Meanwhile, the family's father, Lee Abbott, played by John Krasinski, scavenges some electronics for a radio to boost its signal and some cutting pliers for Regan. Evelyn signs to her family that it will be dark soon and they start preparing to leave when they suddenly become horrified. Beau has the electronic space shuttle toy with him, which Lee carefully takes from him and removes its 2 AA batteries, signing to his youngest son that it is too loud. As the family departs, Regan sneaks the toy back to Beau, who then grabs the batteries on his way out. The Abbotts silently walk back home on a trail of sand they have created. As they come to a walking bridge, they suddenly hear the electronic sound of the space shuttle toy from Beau, who is at the rear. A horrified Lee rushes back towards his son, but it's too late as an alien creature quickly seizes and kills Beau. On day 472, the Abbott family is back on their farm. Lee is in the basement of their house where he has set up an extensive surveillance system with cameras and monitors, along with his radio and other electronics, hoping to contact other survivors. There are also numerous news clippings reporting on an alien invasion, as well as notes from Lee about the aliens' weaknesses, such as their blindness, attack sound, and armor. Meanwhile, Evelyn is in the cellar crafting a mobile and setting up an oxygen tank connected to an infant breathing mask next to a soundproof baby crib. She is pregnant. Lee moves to the top of the grain silo, where he looks through pictures of Beau. Evelyn asks Regan to tell Lee that dinner is ready, which she does reluctantly. After a silent prayer, they eat quietly on lettuce leaves instead of plates. Regan and Marcus play Monopoly, and Marcus accidentally knocks over a lantern, which sets the rug on fire. Lee quickly puts it out, and they wait quietly for any consequences. It seems like they have avoided trouble, but they hear a loud noise on the roof. Lee looks out the window and is startled but relieved to see a raccoon fall from the roof. He goes down to the basement to work on a cochlear implant processor that will help Regan hear. Evelyn comes down, and they share a smile and a set of earbuds as they slow dance to Neil Young's Harvest Moon. Day 473. Lee is putting down sand on their path while Evelyn is in the cellar checking her blood pressure, being close to her due date. She listens to her baby's heartbeat with a stethoscope and hears a strong and healthy beat. Regan comes in and walks carefully on the quiet parts of the floor, wanting to go down to the basement, but Lee stops her. He's modified her new cochlear implant processor with small amplifiers, but Regan is skeptical as they have never worked. Lee gives them to her and heads out on an excursion, inviting Marcus to come along, but he's too scared. Regan wants to go, but Lee tells her to stay and take care of her mother. She heads to her room and tries on the new processor, but it still doesn't work. Lee takes Marcus to a nearby river and teaches him that small sounds are okay as long as there are louder sounds to cover them. They stand next to a waterfall where they can talk freely without fear of being heard. Marcus asks his father why he didn't let Regan come and if he blames her for Beau's death, as Regan blames herself. Lee tells him that it was no one's fault, and Marcus suggests that he should tell her if he still loves her. Meanwhile, Regan arrives at the walking bridge where a memorial has been set up for Beau. She unwraps a wrapped object from her dresser, revealing the space shuttle toy, and uses cutting pliers to cut a wire so that the toy lights up without making any noise. At home, Evelyn is carrying a laundry bag up from the basement when it gets stuck on a nail protruding from a step, causing her to fall. She's okay, but Lee and Marcus hear the noise and rush to her. They tend to her wound, which is a minor scratch, and Lee notices that the nail is loose. Later that night, Lee goes to the waterfall to leave a message for Regan, telling her that he loves her and that he's proud of her. Regan, on her journey, walks past an abandoned train where she finds an old man who has been injured. She tries to help him, but he screams in terror at the sight of her. Lee and Marcus are on their way home when they encounter an old man who startles them. They then notice the old man's dead wife on the ground nearby. Lee tells the old man to remain quiet, but the man screams loudly, attracting the attention of an alien. Lee grabs Marcus and runs away as the alien quickly kills the old man. Back at the farm, Evelyn's water breaks, and she heads to the basement where she steps on a nail, but manages to avoid screaming. However, she drops some picture frames, which attracts an alien into the house. Evelyn switches on the red lights that are located around the property, signaling a warning, and searches for a mechanical kitchen timer. The alien slowly makes its way down the stairs to the basement, listening for any signs of life. When the timer goes off, the alien attacks it, giving Evelyn a chance to run upstairs. She sees another alien in the front yard and runs into the bathroom upstairs, where she starts to give birth. Lee arrives home to find that the red lights have been turned on. He signs "Rocket" to Marcus and tells him to make a loud noise. Lee grabs his shotgun and searches the house, finding an empty bathtub covered in blood. He starts to cry, believing that Evelyn is dead. However, he discovers that she and the new baby boy are safe and hiding in the shower. Meanwhile, Marcus hears an alien and tries to run into the cornfield but knocks himself unconscious by running into a tractor wheel. Regan has returned home and sees Marcus' flashlight beam coming from the cornfield, but she doesn't hear the alien sneaking up on her. However, the alien gets distressed by the high-pitched feedback produced by Regan's cochlear implant processor, causing it to run away. Regan finds Marcus and they climb up to the top of a grain silo. Lee takes Evelyn and their new baby to the cellar and puts the baby in a soundproof crib. Before sleeping, Evelyn regrets not carrying Bo on the day he died and makes Lee promise to protect their children. Lee leaves to search for the kids while water begins to flood the cellar. Later, Evelyn wakes up to find the cellar flooded, and an alien inside with the open soundproof crib. She carefully takes the baby and hides behind the waterfall that is flooding the room. On top of the silo, Marcus signs, "Don't worry, he'll come for us," but Regan disagrees, shaking her head and signing, "He'll come for you." Suddenly, a hatch on the top of the silo breaks and Marcus falls inside, getting stuck in the grain and slowly drowning. The noise draws out the alien from the cellar with Evelyn. The hatch completely breaks off and falls into the silo, barely missing Marcus. Regan jumps into the silo and saves Marcus by pushing the hatch toward him so he can hold onto it. However, Regan herself starts sinking into the grain. Marcus pulls her out and they both sit on top of the hatch door. Suddenly, they hear a crash on top of the silo, and the alien from the flooded cellar jumps in. The kids cover themselves with the hatch door, but the alien is about to attack them until Regan's cochlear implant processor once again emits a piercing feedback, causing the alien to crash through the side of the silo. Regan and Marcus manage to escape from the silo and climb into a pickup truck. Lee rushes to the scene with an axe, but is immediately attacked by the alien. Marcus screams, alerting the alien to the truck's location, and it starts ripping it open. Regan turns off her cochlear implant processor, allowing the alien to continue its attack on the truck. Lee, badly injured, makes eye contact with Regan and signs, "I love you. I have always loved you." He then yells to sacrifice himself and distract the alien from the truck. The kids put the truck into neutral and roll it back to the house, where they reunite with Evelyn. Evelyn and her children hear the alien approaching, prompting them to retreat to the basement. Regan, who had never been allowed in the basement before, is touched to see all the work her father did to create and repair her cochlear implant processor. However, the lights start flickering as the alien enters the basement, cornering them. Regan notices a note from her father asking, "What is their weakness?" and looks at the hearing aids on his workbench. Realizing something, she switches on her cochlear implant processor, creating feedback that distresses the alien. She then amplifies the feedback by holding the processor up to a microphone. The alien collapses and slowly gets back up, but Evelyn uses Lee's shotgun to blast its head to pieces. Seeing on the surveillance monitors that this has attracted more aliens to their home, Regan turns up the speakers while Evelyn pumps the shotgun with a smirk on her face.